So why do you support Donald Trump?
I support Donald Trump because he's clearly pro-family. I also have a problem with the Democrats because the Democrats seem to have a seem to be against democracy from my opinion. I could go into it, starting with the Clinton and how she robbed Bernie of a fair process. We could go into the FBI and how the Clintons and Bush administration weaponized them. Your call.
Okay, anything about Kamala Harris?
Oh yeah, she didn't deserve the nomination. She was placed there like she was a queen. There was no democracy into it whatsoever. There was nobody. I actually don't even think she would have won the nomination.
Okay, I have a question. When a president steps down from a ticket that's nominated, who's supposed to step up? Is it the vice president? Like, genuinely, think about it.
There's
Like,
nobody.
when it is the case the president steps down, the vice president steps up. That's literally how our system works. We voted for
Yeah,
the
but that's
Biden
not
Harris
what
ticket.
happened.
Listen. We voted for the Biden Harris ticket in the primary. If Biden steps down, Harris steps up on the ticket. That's how vice presidency works. I'm sorry that you didn't pay attention in sixth grade, but
That's not true.
that's how it works. That's how vice
That's just not
presidency
true. Where,
works.
where are you getting this from? The Constitution?
No, this is specifically us respecting the process that exists for vice
Oh, so it
presidency
comes from your
within the
respect.
context of the party, because the nomination is through the context of the party, and I would say the best
So it comes
context of
from your
what they would
respect.
specifically have to respect the democratic process would to be respect to the vote that originally existed for the ticket, right? And also you have to acknowledge that 80% of the Democratic Party was satisfied with her being the nominee.
So you do realize that people are typically the presumptive nominee in a primary, then they pick their vice president, right? And it's usually somebody who was, a fair competitor, right? So
But
nobody
this was an
picked Kamala
incumbency
Harris.
running
Joe
again.
Biden. Yeah, but okay, look, Parker, we can be real here, right? There was a lot. Look, Joe Biden, there was a fair argument he wasn't fit to run the first time. There was an even fairer argument that everybody knew he wasn't fit to run the second
Yeah,
time.
I mean,
The
I agree that
Democratic
he shouldn't
Party,
have run.
yeah, but the Democratic Party didn't care. They didn't want another nomination. They just put Kamala there. And
Kamala.
if you look, Kamala, if
Again,
you
there
were
was
going,
already the ticket that was voted in. I'm sorry, that is a democratic process. If you care about the democratic process, you wouldn't have voted for a guy who incited a violent insurrection at the Capitol and pardoned the violent rioters who police officers and called them patriots right after. Don't tell me you care about democracy
that's a
when he still
whole
denies the
different.
election in 2020 and says that the 60 plus courts that indicated no sufficient evidence to overturn the election were lying and fraudulent. Many of them that were conservative appointed judges and Trump appointed judges themselves. So all of them were lying. All of them were corrupt judges. Well, he must have been the case that he appointed corrupt judges to steal the election from him.
This is where you're so funny because on one end, Democrats will argue Trump is a dictator. He only appoints judges that absolutely agree with him. He will never appoint anybody else. Then they'll take the judges that don't agree with him and say, ha ha ha, see, Trump has people that don't agree with him. He must have. Listen, this
No,
is
no, we're
democracy.
saying that
People
he's
don't
changed the
agree.
process that specifically exists. The judges that he appointed were willing to go against him in the past, and now he
And
specifically
that's
like
fine.
pointed and looked for judges that are going to be appointed specifically to his cultist type ideology. So there's
That's
many
where
types
I'm
of
saying
points
you're
I can point
wrong.
to with that, but can you address the point that I made? It's anti-democracy. Please
Of
address it.
course. Of course, but you made a completely different point. We were talking about Nancy Pelosi, then you went into the January
What?
6th riot slash insurrection. We were
We
talking
weren't talking
simply
about Nancy
about.
Pelosi.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe that was in my mind because I was going to bring up if it was a part of the Democratic Party and the respect platform, why was Nancy Pelosi saying that she believes there should have been a new primary?
Well, I don't care what Nancy Pelosi had to say. I mean, I'm sorry.
Well,
Do you like Nancy Pelosi?
it's not about whether I like
No,
Nancy
I'm just asking.
Pelosi.
I'm just
You brought
asking. Do
up
you
the
like Nancy
argument that the
Pelosi?
Democrats have a respect for the process. Nancy
What
Pelosi was
I never like cited Nancy Pelosi or anything. Like I'm confused.
that's totally fine. She was the House. She was the Speaker of the House. She was a
Okay.
representative for the Democratic Party. So you
And
brought up that it's a part of the democratic process, the Democratic Party's respect for procedure. I'm bringing up Nancy Pelosi didn't agree. There were other Democrats who didn't agree. What I'm saying is that this is more undemocratic than you think it is. And you're a little bit young, Parker, but if you were my age, you would have supported Bernie and you would have saw how he got robbed by Hillary Clinton.
I do support Bernie now. Can you address the points I made? You're like
Sure.
actually pivoting
Repeat
like
your points.
crazy. Like again, address the point.
I feel you're pivoting, but repeat the points.
Donald Trump specifically incited a violent insurrection at the Capitol. He pardoned the people who police officers on January 6th. He called them patriots.
Okay. Do you want an answer for that?
Yeah, and he denied the 60-plus courts that indicated no sufficient evidence of him overturning the election. Or
Yeah,
an
that's
overturning
fine.
of the election.
That's fine. These are two separate things, right? So you're talking about January 6th, right? And why he pardoned people, why he seems to have a apologist perspective towards them, right? Was that your question? I'm trying to understand your question.
I'm saying, isn't that anti-democracy?
I mean, you can't really take one point. You have to zoom out and look at the entire thing. Sure, pardoning people who marched on the Capitol seems anti-democratic until you look at the Constitution, where it says you actually should march on the Capitol if you feel like your government is taking something from you. So
The Constitution does not tell you to incite an insurrection when you lost the election, right? To overturn the election. He said fight like hell to take back the country from those that stole it from him, and he lost the election. There was no evidence of him winning.
That's fine, but here's the thing. You asked two different questions. Parker, you asked two different questions. You said, why is he having this...
Wait, who won the 2020 election? Who rightfully won the 2020 election?
Rightfully, as far as we know it, Joe Biden.
Oh, okay. So then, you obviously believe that Trump still to this day is laughably incoherent, right?
No, he's not laughably incoherent. I don't understand how you can't look at the whole history and see how the 2020 election was so extreme. There were things that if you actually understood the perspective of Republicans, you'd understand that they're bowing to the Constitution. What their argument is they used COVID as an external excuse to change election law, when in the Constitution, only state electors could change election law. So the Supreme Court was going to take this issue, but they said, we don't want to take this issue if it means reversing the election decision. We can agree that only state legislatures could change election law. We can agree that these judicial judges stepped out of their bounds, but there's no constitutional remedy. Joe Biden won. There's these mail-in ballots. The judges said they're okay. Did the judges have the right to say they're okay? No, but it's too late now.
Where are you getting Where are you getting all of this? Where are you getting all of this?
This is Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas said he was willing to accept the case. He was willing to accept the case, and there was a word for it that basically the Republican case that only state legislatures could change election law, and judges did. Democratic judges did in cities, which led to...
Okay, so what election law did they change?
Mail-in ballots.
Relevant to the changing of the election. What about mail-in ballots?
Ballot harvesting, mail-in ballot.
What ballot harvesting?
Ballot signatures.
What about
chain of custody?
What about ballot signatures? What about chain of custody?
So some judges, right, ruled that you can have more ballot boxes, right? These are only supposed to be passed by state legislatures.
Oh my God! They made it so that there could be more ballot boxes for people to vote in an election.
Yeah, Parker,
oh my God! They were rigging the system. Oh my God, dude! They allowed more people to vote. No way! Oh my God! How dare they do this? These judges allowed more people to vote, and it led to Democrats winning.
I have a question for you. It's okay. You're only showing you're losing because you're acting like... Go ahead, start crying.
I'm not crying, dude. I'm laughing at you, bro. Come on. That was ridiculous. You can't admit that was ridiculous?
No, because I'll ask you a question to show it's not.
Oh my God, man.
Do you believe that U.S. politics...
Wait, no, hold up. I'm sorry. What do you think just happened?
There you go. You won't allow me to talk.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So the reason why you're laughing is because you're viewing it from the perspective of, let's just put a ballot box on every street. More people could vote. More votes equals better. I'm saying that there's two sides to this, right? Should we have Love Island voting? Should we introduce text voting next? As long as you can ID verify, you can text your vote in the next election. There's something called security, right? There's also something called somebody actually getting out.
If there's a secure process, mail-in voting is a secure process. We've been doing it for a very long time.
Really?
Trump did it himself. He voted mail-in. He must think it's very secure. That's why he sent his vote in by mail, okay? It's okay for him to do it, but when the Democrats do it, then it's an issue, okay? Democrats can't vote by mail, but
You're
Trump
changing the
can.
subject.
Okay, Trump
You're changing the
vote
subject again.
Trump vote by mail is amazing and fantastic, and that vote's totally secure. But every other vote is not secure. Every other vote is a Democrat hoax. Come on, bro. Come on. No, you don't believe that.
You're not actually rebutting what I'm saying.
I
Like,
did. I
because
completely
you
did.
keep
I
changing
completely did,
topics.
bro. The fact
Now
that you
you're
can't
talking
see that is
about how Trump's a
crazy.
hypocrite, and you want me to respond to that. What are you doing, bro? Stick to the same topic. You've changed topics 10 times now. As soon as you get cornered, you just change topics. You have people mute the comments, so I can't even
We're
comment.
still talking about the election, bro. Chill.
I mean, bro, but you keep switching topics. We're talking about why
What did I-
more
what
ballot
did I
boxes
switch
is
to?
unconstitutional, and you're talking about, oh, who cares about the Constitution because I believe in it. I just told you only state legislatures could increase voting places, and you're saying, who cares about that? Because more voting is good. That's what you just said, and then you started laughing hysterically, and then I started saying, listen, getting more ballot
Here, hold
places
up.
and more places.
Can I tell? So listen, I
Go on.
would love for you to
Go
watch
on.
back this conversation. I'd love for you to
Go
watch
on.
it back. Okay.
I
Genuinely, you brought up the fact that there were more ballot boxes being allowed by specific judges in those different areas, which would mean that more people had the ability to vote in the context of an emergency like COVID. You understand the context of the scenario in terms of the pandemic, and also you also can understand that allowing more people to vote isn't a fraudulent element. And all of these mail-in ballots were determined to be securely set up. I don't know why you think that this is the case. There have been audits in all of these different swing states that were relevant to the election. You understand that all of that was overlooked. Joe Biden won the election. I understand that you're still coping. He won the election.
I'm not coping. Donald Trump is president. My coping is over. What I'm trying to say is the intent could be good. It's still against the Constitution. Simple as that. I don't care. I don't care if it's secure. It's against the Constitution. It wasn't the judge's call, and that was the
It's
Republican
again. So
argument.
your biggest issue is one. I don't think that there's a basis. Where in the Constitution is it against?
In the Constitution, I'd have to look up the exact place, but only state legislatures could change election law.
Okay, can you? Yeah, go ahead and you can look that up. I'll give you time to look that up.
Sure. Give me one moment.
I'll give you time. But I mean, like, I would wonder if we care about the violation of the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the 14th Amendment under Donald Trump's presidency. You know, like the Trump administration and him violating the Constitution, him calling for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. But we'll bring that up once you get back.
Okay, I have it here. It's Article 1.
You said what? You
Sorry,
said
Article 1. Yeah, Article 1, Section 4, Clause 1.
Article 1,
But Parker, it's
section-
actually yes.
Clause 1.
Yeah, Clause 1. It's actually astonishing to me
like
that
the
you
very
didn't know
beginning.
this was even the Republican argument. It's not about the fake ballots. It's not about the security. It's simply about who gets to change election law. That was the whole Supreme Court fight. That was the whole states suing other states. It got changed by the media to be, these guys are going so crazy because they think China hacked the ballot systems. It was all to muddy the water. Sure, those were, worth
Wait,
looking
section
into.
1, it says all legislative powers herein shall be vested in the Congress of the United States, which shall consist of the Senate and House of Representatives.
Okay, here. One.
What are you talking about, bro? What is this guy?
Article 4.
Article 4?
Bro,
Now we're
here,
changing
so-
articles?
here-
We're changing
no,
articles
no,
now?
No. I'm just, bro, you and your like mini insults to try to get your fans riled up. I swear. Article 1.
You said Article
Section
1.
4.
I'm just like, we're
I
changing
know,
articles
but
now?
allow me to correct myself, brother. Like, you're so disingenuous.
That's,
Article
no, I
1.
never said that you're not allowed to correct yourself. That's totally fine. You could be totally right. I'm just saying, bro.
Okay, sorry. Article 1, Section 4, Clause 1. It specifically speaks
There you
about pretty much everything to do with elections has to be passed by the state legislatures. This is why Donald Trump wanted to certify other state legislatures. You still haven't taught me.
Let me see. Hold
You
up.
haven't even showed me that you even understood the Republican case for 2020 being unconstitutional.
Hold up. I mean, I understand that we can talk about this, and I can go through it, and we can talk about the reasons why the Republicans think that. But that doesn't change the reality that one, when it is the case that you don't care about the violations of the Constitution, you don't at all. Like, there are multiple violations we can bring up specifically on behalf of Republicans that would be specifically relevant. This is a COVID emergency situation, okay? There's COVID emergency.
Okay.
It's not violating the, if it were a violation of the Constitution, honestly, it's not violating the Constitution in any type of meaningful way that would have been anti-democracy as the point you were establishing prior. So I don't know what your point was originally, because your
Parker,
original
you're
point
just
was,
agreeing with me.
let me address. No, I could say that even if I agree with you, it is the case that it doesn't establish a greater violation of the Constitution on behalf of Democrats, right, comparative to Republicans, right? And it is the case that if we look at the Constitution in terms of how it was violated, it wasn't in any meaningful way that would be anti-democratic, as it just gave a greater ability for people to vote. So even if I do accept that it's unconstitutional, it still doesn't at all change the reality of the matter in terms of whether or not it was anti-democratic, right? Because that was your original point of whether or not it was anti-democratic, right?
Yeah, Parker, but are you hearing yourself? You just said, I don't care if it's unconstitutional. If I interpret it as democratic, then I could look at the intent basically matters. That's not true. If it's unconstitutional, it ends there. It's unconstitutional. And we concede that and go on to ways that Republicans are unconstitutional.
Does the clause say
but this
both?
was unconstitutional.
Does the clause say both?
Both what?
Hold up. Give me 1 second. One second. Section 1, clause 1. Wait, do you want to read it off? Make sure I'm reading the right one.
Yeah, but I don't have my laptop with me, so when I zoom out, let me see if I could.
Here, I'll have
Give me one moment.
Matt just to make sure I'm reading the right one.
Hey, sorry. Let me read it to you because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
both. So it says, the times, places, and manner of holding elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state by the legislator thereof. But the Congress may at any time by law make or alter such regulations except as to the places of choosing senators. So it's both.
Yeah, and the second part doesn't negate or add to your argument for adding ballot boxes because nothing was passed through Congress. So
Yeah, I wasn't making that argument. I'm just saying it's both
I know.
because it's not the state and it's not just Congress. It's both.
of course.
So we can
But it
kind of
didn't
just
happen through Congress. You're right. If Congress felt this COVID was an emergency, it should have been passed through Congress. It wasn't. Then it should have been either passed through one or the state legislatures. It was not passed through either. Democrats knew they had judges, so they passed judicial orders.
Okay, wait. So
And then the
again,
Supreme Court couldn't correct it in time.
So again, the whole point here is that if say this is a violation of the Constitution, that doesn't at all mean that there are greater levels of constitutional violations, specifically on behalf of Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris. Donald Trump has engaged in significantly more constitutional violations that would be more harmful to the set of constitutional rights that people are granted. This one actually just gave people a greater right to vote. So the worst set of circumstances that you could give in terms of a constitutional violation, you're trying to act like this is some crazy, bad, horrible thing that means the election is stolen. No, this doesn't mean the election is stolen. This doesn't mean at all that there are greater levels of constitutional violations on behalf of the Democrats. This doesn't even benefit you in any way. It kind of just shows and actually highlights how much you don't actually care about constitutional violations, because you only care about it when Democrats do it in this context, but you don't care about it in the multiple other circumstances I could bring up with Donald Trump specifically doing it. Whether it be the First Amendment,
Again,
with him literally calling for people to be put in prison for a year for burning the American flag, which was determined by the Supreme Court to be a violation of the Constitution, him calling for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution, him advocating against the Second Amendment, wanting to take people's first due process second,